experience. So I will now basically pass it to our Hussain. Yes, sir.
Hi, thank you, Miss. All right, folks. So this is the agenda for today's session. We'll talk briefly about RPA. I assume that most of you already know basics of RPA, so I'll not get into too much detail about that. And we'll just be focusing on some of the new features that most of the RPA tools have brought in last few years um, that are related to basic RPA as well as to the ecosystem around RPA. And we'll have a demo using OpenAI that's something new in the industry. So let's move forward. Just to introduce like what RPA is. RPA can interact with any application and work like a human being. It can type, it can click, it can extract data, it can manipulate with data, and where it is useful is if you have a process that is repetitive in nature, um, uh, that is to be performed maybe daily, weekly, or quarterly, and there's a massive amount of work, manual work involved in it, and it's repetitive, rule based. So you can maybe navigate to applications, ERPs like SAP. You can go to browser based applications and extract data, fill web forms. You can play with Excel, or you can generate emails, or do anything that a human user probably would do uh, in order to get a process done. There are like some sample functions that generally we achieve through RPA listed here, just to give you some idea that what RPA can do. It can open emails and attachments, it can read them, it can log into applications and perform certain actions there, it can move or copy folders or files, it can fill forms, can read write to database, it can also access web services, it can scrape data, it can make calculations, it can um, collect information from social media portals. So so to give you a further idea, like if a task is repetitive, it is periodic maybe, and it probably needs to generate mass emailing. It needs conversion of data and manipulation of data, transactions into ERP or process files. You can use RPA to automate that. So if your process is not repetitive, manual, or rule based, probably RPA is not the best solution for automation. You can explore improvements in your process. If it's high volume, you can go ahead with RPA. If it's not high volume, look for tactical solutions. If it is structured, it has structured data, readable electronic inputs, RPA is good. If it's not, maybe using machine learning to understand the data is the first step. If it is well-defined, mature, documented, RPA is good. If it is not, you should standardize the process and define it first. If it uses UI, RPA is good. If it has integration points available, maybe other solutions would be better fit for it, though RPA can support using APIs also. So intelligent automation is generally being used in multiple sectors, and these are few lines of business where it is more commonly used. I will not go into a lot of detail on each of that, but just to give you some example, like for finance, we recently implemented a process where a manufacturing company had multiple plants of manufacturing, and their customers were usually tagged with a specific plant. Though the stuff the customer was asking for may have been produced at different plants. So their primary plant was actually generating the invoice and receiving the revenue on behalf of that shipment or the manufacturing they were doing. And internally, they wanted to transfer that revenue, cashless transactions, just to showcase that which plant actually worked on which part of the manufacturing process and who should get credit for that. So we developed a process through Automation Anywhere bots, which used to read data from different systems, including SAP, and create transactions to showcase that, okay, which plant actually worked on that. So debit credit transactions were made to give the credit to the right plant for that part of manufacturing, though the invoicing was generated from a single plant that was the main plant for that particular customer. That's just one example from manufacturing and finance together. We will get into a couple of more use cases later, and you will get a better understanding of that. So this, up till now, this was basic towards RPA, like what RPA can do, or a simple use case we discussed. Now coming towards some of the recent trends and how RPA is progressing. One thing where RPA has recently progressing towards is continuous process discovery. So when an organization adapts RPA, generally they want to pace up the automation that they are doing. And in order to do that, they have to get a continuous supply of processes to automate. And that's sometimes challenging because organization-wise, business users do not understand what RPA can do and what suits best for RPA-based automations. And in order to do that from IT or technical teams, it's also difficult to understand the business first and then be able to say that, okay, what should be automated, what should not be automated, and if automated, in what should be the priority, what should be the order in which automations should be done. To do this, another type of automation is there. So this manual part of the automation, to understand that what should be automated, is also automated now. And through tools for discovery, we can understand what suits best for the automation. So there are three basic things to do for that: process mining, task mining, and communication mining. So what the process mining does, it analyzes the data generated based on the manual work your company is doing today. And task mining understands how your user is getting his work or her work done. So task mining kind of sits on your desktop and see, or on your user's desktop, and see what he is doing, and tries to understand what could be automated. And communication mining is trying to understand what sort of communication your users are doing in their Teams or chat applications or your emails, and tries to understand that what could be automated. What is the pattern? Like if a user is generating a specific type of email again and again, how can it be automated? All right, so I got a question. I'll repeat it because some of you may not be able to hear. So the question is that what is the best way to identify what should be automated or what should not be automated? So one way is totally manual, right? understanding what is repetitive, what is rule based, and does not need like, though RPA can get augmentation from AI based tools or machine learning tools for decision making, but basically cannot do it itself. So in the first phase, at least, you should not be looking for such processes which involve decision making or intuitive decision making. So manual way of understanding what should be automated, repetitive, rule based, right? Now, when you start a program for RPA, probably you may have 5, 6, 10 processes in mind. Okay, this is manual, this is repetitive, this needs to be automated. But after some time, you might have an difficulty in getting new processes fit for RPA based automation. At that stage, using tools for discovery would help you. So what discovery tools do, they either analyze your data generated through maybe getting into your databases, getting into the files generated at different stages on your process, and trying to understand the patterns. Second, task mining through sitting on your desktop or user's desktop, listening what he is doing, and then trying to create patterns and maps. And third, through communication he or she is doing, and sending that to the automation hub. And automation hub has the capability of showing you maps, like how the processes it has discovered are performed in time, type of, like, I'll show you there's some kind of like flow charts, and you can alter them to make the understanding better. If you think it is missing something, if it is not accurate in some aspect, you can edit that. And you can see, okay, which part of the process has bottleneck, which part is taking more time, which part is taking less time, which should be automated first. And it can give you an easy to use platform to even automate that. So when it generates that flow chart, it can be converted into a bot also with minor tweaks. So without having to involve a full-time developer to develop that automation, through that map that it has discovered, you can convert it into a robot and get things done for you. So this is the kind of flowchart it creates. And after listening to the data and the user actions performed, it can develop a path of your process. And through that path, you can develop an automation also. Exactly. Exactly. All right. Probably folks who have joined online may not have heard the question and answer session that was going on here. So apologize about that. Let's move ahead. So we were talking about task mining and how task mining does work. As I said, sits on your desktop and it sees what you're doing. It creates patterns and creates a graph or a flow chart, like how different applications are interacting, what sort of process, what parts of the process are manual, and what could be the bottlenecks. And there's one concern we generally hear when we tell that, okay, this piece of software will sit on your desktop and listen what you're doing. So there is always a security concern. Okay, what is being recorded? And some of the things I do on my laptop are personal. They are not related to the organization I'm working for. So for that, we have full control that what applications this agent will listen. So we can specify, okay, what applications it needs to listen, even what websites on browser we need to listen. So we can ignore all the other things, it will not record that. Okay, so when you through the orchestrator in UiPath, when you invite some user to allow recording of his stuff from his desktop, this is the kind of interface he gets, and he has to accept it. And when he accepts, he is able to allow that what applications he wants to allow. And after listening for some time, it starts creating this kind of a map that he can push to the orchestrator, and administrators and developers can see, okay, what's going on. Username will be there recorded, but passwords will not be. So usernames will go, but once they are received here, you have the capability to remove them and put users that you want to use in the automation. And there is a credential vault at the orchestrator that you can link it to. So during the development, testing, or when this automation goes into production, a different set of users can be used with this automation. So it's not like if I am recording on my machine, my user will be part of this recording, and when bot will be running, the same user will do the job. And if anything goes wrong through the bot, my user is in the audit log that I did something wrong. It's not like that. Okay. All right. So when it creates this flow chart, you can export it for documentation purposes, or you can export it as this UiPath Studio file, which is actually an automation file that UiPath can run as a bot. All right. So this is something about the ecosystem we have now in RPA. Generally, when the RPA started, not sure how. Okay, got it. Yeah. So when we had these tools initially, RPA tools, only this part was there. And initially, RPA tools started as attended automations, like a user who is running the automation will run it is on his own computer, and certain steps will be automated like a macro. Um, then unattended automations also came in. So the automations can be scheduled or triggered from actions, and can be done on uh, VMs or servers where a user does not have to look into like what's happening there. And human in the loop also came if something has to be reviewed. Yeah, approvals or anything as such can be taken out. Thing wrong clicked. All right. So we have tools like IQBot or document processing engines that now can help you understand the manual documents like PDFs or Word files or even scanned documents that are images, and take that unstructured data and bring it into structured format through AI-based tools within the RPA available. Right. So when you read unstructured files or structured files, it can take out certain data using AI and understanding the document and create CSV files at the back. Right. So that AI is inbuilt in most RPA tools, including Automation Anywhere and UiPath. Discovery Bot I just talked about. This is one of the latest additions, and we have insights or analytics available that what bot has done, what sort of savings bot has created for you, like how many hours of manual work it has saved, and where it failed, where it can be improved. You can take out such things. Right. So it's to some extent it's irrespective of any RPA tool. Most mature RPA tools have these. Yeah, at least Automation Anywhere and UiPath have that, but some tools may not have all those. Some have more advanced expertise towards or capabilities towards one of the areas, like Antwork is a tool that is more mature towards document processing, but towards all of these areas, it's less mature. So it depends like how you want to focus and what is more of an important thing for you. So yeah, good question. So question is that how this document understanding is different from OCR. Document understanding has OCR in it. So OCR is one of the components of document understanding. OCR is just the raw understanding of what is in there, that the document. This document understanding or IQ bot is something that uses that raw understanding, that text it receives through that OCR, and tries to make sense out of it. So if you, let's suppose, want to process invoices and automate the entry of invoices maybe into your ERP, or process the invoices for procure to pay process, you need to get data out of those invoices, and invoices can be in hundreds of different formats. Each vendor would have slightly different invoice, but there would be some common things in each of those invoices. Who's the vendor, what's the total amount, what are the items purchased, what are the quantities, what are the taxes, what are the payment terms, like how soon you need to pay it, stuff like that, and dates, of course. So when you feed your invoices to the IQ bot, it will learn through your invoices. It has a basic capability of understanding invoices, and then it will learn through your invoices also to make it further better. Initially, it will send some alerts to your admin users or reviewers that, okay, this is what I understood through this invoice, and this is what I have doubt over. So you can review, you can make it perfect, and with time it will learn in those areas also. And the rate of sending those tickets for review would gradually decrease. And your processes, most of your processes, most of your invoices at least will be automatically processed. So that's one way, one example of document processing, most common one. Hmm. All right. So question is that when you buy an RPA tool license, do you get all of these together? Simple answer is no. So there are different packages, and in different packages you get different offerings. So if you get basic RPA, you will not get, generally in with basic RPA, or these analytic tools are within that. But for document processing, you need additional license. For discovery bot, you need additional license. Right. Right. You're talking about digitization of manual documents, right? Yeah, that's correct. So especially if it's not a standard document, like when I say standard, let me define what I meant. Invoice is something that it understands to a certain extent already. But let's suppose there is some internal document that's not common in a lot of businesses, and it has different formats that you receive it in. Then the learning curve would be more as compared to invoice or a purchase order or something that's pretty common. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. It looks like it's the audience has a lot of interest towards this area. We can have another session in detail with a demo, like how this document processing works. I'll try to answer that. How it works is when you set up IQ bot or document processing engine, initially you just provide lots of documents to it that you want to process in future, or similar to those documents you will process in future. And first it will categorize them. It will say, okay, this is one format. When I say format, this is one type of document. This is another. This is another. This is another. Let's suppose 5 different types of document it categorizes in, and then you can name them. Okay, this category 1 is invoice. This category 2 is purchase order. This category 3 is something else, and you can it will put those documents into different folders. It was able to identify they are different, but it was not able to identify that what they are, right, initially. Those invoices that it found, let's suppose 5 invoices it found, could be in different formats from different vendors, but still it would say, okay, these look similar to me. And then it will, when you say it's invoice, you with a drop down, you choose, okay, this is invoice. It will start getting that who's the vendor, what's the total, what are the items, what are the taxes and stuff like that, and start putting them into different variables that you can see on your screen while reviewing. And some part of it may not be able to understand, that you can just drag and drop and say, okay, this matches with this variable. This is actually this. And it will train, okay, for next time it will understand this thing is this. Similarly, when it will generate a map and keep it. It will generate a model and keep it. And now when your automation on the fly will feed it, up till now what I was saying was through the initial training I was talking about. And then when the automation gets, let's suppose, an email and gets an attachment and it feeds that attachment to the same engine, the engine will try to classify first and say, okay, this is again an invoice, and it will read that invoice and understand things. If it will have doubts, it will again create a ticket for the reviewer to say, okay, I was not able to get, let's suppose, the total from it. So you can drag and drop, okay, this is the total. And it can go ahead and process the invoice for whatever reason you want to, like whatever the automation you have in progress for. Okay. Yeah, okay. All right. There is another feature that automation tools or RPA tools recently introduced. By recently, I mean in last couple of years, are the integration services. So we in fact had API based integrations available from day one in RPA tools, but they were something that you had to do by yourself. Like you have to define the endpoint, you will have to provide all the variables that you need to pass or receive, and then you have to manually, like in your code, you will have to parse those variables and get what you want to do get. Now, recently what they did, they made these connectors available for you, and now it's much easier to use with most of the applications. And where it's not already available, it's easier to develop and then share across the community now. So there's a large library of connectors already available, and these connectors can be used as triggers for automation also. So when you develop an automation through RPA tool, you can either run it on demand. When you click it, you want to run it, you can schedule it to run, you can make the trigger based on availability of a file or change in a file, change in a database, anything you want. But or through an API call also, you can trigger an automation. Right. Right. Exactly. Without writing too much about the connection and the functionality. Even if it's a standard solution, even the functionality, like let's suppose if it's ServiceNow, there's a standard functionality of creating a ticket, right? And that's out built in, available now to without having to do anything. So I was talking about a recent trigger they added is something happens in an application outside of RPA, and automatically RPA bot will trigger based on that. So for example, based on a ticket created in ServiceNow, RPA will automatically be triggered and do something. Let's suppose I will have a detailed example later. I'll show that. So this capability, this out of the box availability of these connectors makes the automation design much simplified, because it's within a container now. You just drag and drop and use it, and makes your automation flexible, it reusable, and more secure and easy to govern. So these connectors can be built around a lot of different ways, you can say, using all these things. And when a connector is built, it can be used throughout the platform and in different ways through the studio orchestrator. How it is different, like when a robot we build, orchestrator is the control room from where it can be scheduled, or it can be clicked to run, and it runs on a VM to perform all those actions into different applications that you want to automate. But if you have an integration through connector, it does not need that VM, and it can directly be running through the orchestrator that's on the cloud, provided by the UiPath or Automation Anywhere's own cloud. All right, this is just a screenshot of some of the connectors already available, and every week they add new connectors to it. So you can search for the connector you want to use, and let me show you even. So we have these integration services available here. And a list of available connectors. Let's suppose I click, it's searching in my folders. I don't want to do that. All right, so I take this Salesforce from the connectors. In fact, I have an already created connector, so I'll delete that. Add a connection. I say it's my production environment. Connect. It asks for my user ID password. I connect. It will ask for the kind of access you want to allow. And the connection is here. Now I can either use this connection within my automation to get certain things out of Salesforce, or I can make it a trigger that if, like, suppose I click manage triggers here and add a trigger, and I say that in my Salesforce, if a new lead is created, or let's suppose if a new opportunity is created, if a new contact is created, whatever I want to trigger it on, let's suppose a lead is created. I can put a condition also. If the lead has this condition, only then trigger it. Or if I don't want to create that, I can just go ahead and trigger. I cannot trigger it because I don't have an automation built on this orchestrator yet. So if I would have, it's great at the moment disabled. That's why. So I will have to click here and tag it to an automation that will be triggered automatically when a lead is created in the Salesforce. We can do that. Exactly, we can do that. I'll show you a use case also. Yeah. So getting back to my deck. Right, who can create these connectors? So UiPath itself also creates, partners can create, or developers can create. So they've made it easy to add new connectors, and that's why every month a lot of new connectors are added. If you develop a connector, they will review it and they will let it be available on the portal. By reviewing, they need to make sure that it's secure and it's not doing anything that is not supposed to do. All right, so this is a use case. Let's see. Let's suppose in Salesforce, a user creates an order, and that triggers an automation in UiPath. That automation invokes a ServiceNow connection. So one connection, this is also a connection that triggered this, but after the automation that was triggered, it invoked another connection that created a ServiceNow service request in ServiceNow. And the automation also, the UiPath robot also created an invoice. And that invoice is, let's suppose, saved to Google Drive or anywhere. This is also done through a connector available. And then it notifies stakeholders, maybe through emails or through updating status in Salesforce again. So multiple applications can be integrated for multiple systems using APIs, as well as using these connectors, as well as UI, where UI is needed. Like if, right. So when we use connector at the back end, it is also using API, right? So that's kind of like packaged API use. Plus, because we are not using something that like a tool like MuleSoft or any integration tool, we have the capability to even play with the UI. So if your process has some integrations that can be integrated through APIs and connectors, and some part still needs to be handled on a UI screen, you can even do that in the overall automation. So it gives you complete automation tool set to connect through integration points as well as through UI. Exactly. You can scrape data, you can fill forms. So if your applications are not giving you access to APIs, you can still. Exactly. So there's no limitation. Even if you have let's suppose an application on your mobile device, and that's part of the overall process, and you can even interact with that, putting an emulator, an Android or kind of emulator that is available on the same machine, and it will go through that app and do that action also. So it does not have any limitation now, because generally integration applications can only integrate using APIs. It can even integrate through UI and even through any operating system you need to. All right. Just briefly touch upon a case study that we implemented, automated for medical billing. There was a list of patients received by the healthcare provider, and it had to be searched, first entered into the insurance provider's application, and there could be multiple insurance providers. And later the bot had to be, or the manual user initially had to keep a check on the status of the approval or decline of that insurance claim, and extract data and keep the internal system sync with the insurance. So it was basically for the healthcare provider and keeping the system sync with the insurance. This is the overall flow chart. All these steps are done by the bot. There is some manual things that a human user was supposed to do, and these were kept on client's request to keep to be manual. Even this can be automated. All right, so this is the kind of folder where we used to receive input files, and there were different types of input files for different insurance applications. So based on that type or naming convention, bot used to understand where it needs to search records from this file. Each file had many records, like around 3,000 to 10,000 records. When I say records, they are different claims. So picking up each claim, bot goes into the insurance application system and search for the record, get the status from different screens. It used to extract data, search, and then extract data. Some of these fields are masked here, as we cannot show them in this presentation. So bot used to pick all these details and then create an output file. Now, because there was a massive caseload that bot needs to process, we came up with a strategy to divide and run it parallelly on different bot machines. The simple automation, if we just do it on a single machine, it was giving us 3 times the performance of a human user. So instead of 380 claims that a human user could process in 8 hours, in 8 hours we were able to process over 1,100 claims. Since our bot does not need to work only for 8 hours, and it can work for 24 hours without Yeah, without sleeping, without taking break for lunch and dinner. Um, it 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 can do it 3 times, so around 3,400, over 3,400 claims a single bot can process, right? So that's already nine times. And because client wanted to have more than that speed, they had a big backlog. What we did, we came up with a concept of dispatcher and performer. So what the dispatcher bot does is it picks up the input files. There are multiple input files coming up. Each has like 10,000 or around 10,000 records or claims. The dispatcher bot does is, if it's a big file and that's a configurable number, that if it's more than 600 records in a file, it will go ahead and divide that file into chunks to be processed parallelly on different robots. So what it does is if it is more than 600 record in a file, it picks it up, divides it into 3 segments, and 3 segments because we have 3 performer robots available. If we have more, we can change this number to more. It divides that input file into three segments and loads it into a queue. There are these 3 performer bots working, checking that queue, and whatever is available in that queue that they pick up and process. When they process, they come up with the results and feed the output queue with the results. So output file would be result of each of the file that was fed in the queue. There will be an equivalent in the output for the queue. Now the dispatcher bots, what the dispatcher bot does, it keeps an eye on the output queue, it feeds the input queue, and it reads the output queue and merge the files back as per the division it made earlier. So it will create an equivalent file of the input in output. So it will understand, okay, which file it divided into 3, by what 3 names, and it will then find the output files for each whenever they are available by keeping an eye, and merge them back together in a single format as required by the outer system. So if anyone has any question on this approach. Exactly. In fact, they wanted to keep it running continuously. So 24/7, these 4 bots were running. When I say 4, these 3 and this dispatcher. This dispatcher is the same dispatcher. So 4 bots were continuously running and getting things done. So this is how we achieve 27 times the speed, because we are now processing 3 bots in parallel. Right. All right, so let's see a demo. This involves OpenAI, and from the e-commerce side, we are having an e-commerce portal or a website where an e-store where your products are being sold, and the customer or the person who is getting this automated is having their products sold and receiving their reviews on those products. So the use case is about replying to those reviews and getting analytics that what those reviews are saying, and even it can be updated or modified, enhanced to take actions if required based on a review. The demo I'll show does not have that action part yet. What it will do is it will extract reviews and it will send those reviews to OpenAI for sentiment analysis and draft a reply for that. Once it gets the reply from OpenAI, it will post the reply on the product, the review that it received, and it can be very proactive. It's automated. It will do it right away, and the user will get a feel that the seller is listening and is very active on the issue, and would give a positive feel about your organization overall. Reply is posted through the bot, and this part, as I said, is yet not in the demo, that it can recommend what actions to be done, maybe creating tickets in ServiceNow or somewhere to do certain things based on the review. If let's suppose there is a problem with the product, it can ask a certain team to look into it and make enhancements in the product, make better changes in the product. All right, so let's see. I have this working. Right. So this is a demo site. This is a product available for sale, and these are some reviews under it. There are 6 reviews. We can see we have deliberately kept not too many reviews here because the processing will take more time then. So we have only 6 reviews here, and they can be thousands that the bot can process. Let me just, okay, this for now, we will use the admin section of the site for replying, but it can be even here if the system allows. Let's suppose you're selling on Amazon, and if you log in from your seller account, you will have an option to reply here, and the bot can use that to reply. And it's most feasible when you are using at such what we call marketplaces where you don't have admin interfaces to reply to. So bot would be the best choice to go there. Just refreshing it to get the most recent. Okay, this is the automation built on UiPath, and what it will do, it will read the reviews, it will analyze for sentiment, it will log those reviews in an Excel file, and get response from OpenAI, log that in the Excel file again, and post that response on the e-commerce site. All right, for now, for this demo, it is kept attended. I'll have to click it, and then it will go and check. But it can be changed to in a listening mode. It can keep on checking if there is a new review available. We can keep it deliberately delayed also. I don't want to post the second I get the review, because that will make the user understand that it's automated, right? So we can deliberately keep it delayed for 5 minutes or something, right? We can keep on talking and let it run so that we can save some time. Okay. So right. So you can see this progress here, that what the bot is doing in this section, and it will open the browser interface and start doing some actions in a while after analyzing and coming up with the answers. Okay, we can keep on talking and we can watch. Exactly. So same use case can be applied to interact with your audience on social media and automatically respond to their comments, you can use this same bot. Just configure it for that social media site. And the more interesting part is it can also suggest that if this query needs a ticket or something else to be right. Let's suppose right. So it can respond by itself that we are working on it. We are sending it to the right team and to show proactiveness. And look at this. It has now started to respond to. And at the back end, you can take your time and do your analysis of the issue. Let's suppose there is for this particular case, user is saying that battery is running out too soon, and it will respond that, okay, I'm sending this to the R&D team to further make our battery better and all that. And also it can send that ticket to the R&D team to work on that. So it, because exactly right, exactly, and using that same connector for the service now. All right, so this site has multiple reviews on multiple products. You just want to reply to your own product that this ticket is about, or this review is about, and it searches for that first, then clicks the reply button, types the response, and clicks the reply button, and then does the same for the next review. Yeah, and it's running live at the moment. It's not a recording. And I will show you once it's done. Okay, I think it's done. All right, so we had this page showing the reviews we had. We don't see the reply yet. Let me refresh. Now we have the replies through. Unfortunately, the reviews were also written by the admin user, so you don't see any difference. But yeah, it's slightly indented, so you can see that it's the response. And I don't know how readable it is. Too big. OpenAI, yes. So if you read, you will not feel like they are automated. They are specific to the problem, and you can see, okay. The prompts are like, basically the prompt is created because of the review. So we pass the review to the OpenAI and just let it know what sort of tone we want to keep. So we want to be helpful. We want to be showing that we are performing action on it. So we can just tell the OpenAI what is the feel that we want to give, and it will create a response accordingly. And we want to be thankful. So look at this. Thank you for your positive feedback. We are delighted to hear that the product was delivered on time and that you are happy with the condition of it. So because it was a review with positive feedback, it worked. It is in a certain way. Let me show if some. Okay, this one. I don't know. Apple's battery is getting worse. Can't use it for 2 days straight. But this is the comment. This is the review by user. And look at this. The response is, thank you for your feedback. We apologize for the inconvenience and that you have experienced with the Apple product. We understand that battery life is important factor for customers, and we're continuously working to improve the battery life of our products. So it sounds like, okay, someone is writing. Yeah, Sakina. All right. Let me repeat the question for everyone. There's a question that a bot that is built on UiPath or Automation Anywhere, can it be deployed on ServiceNow, or does it need its own infrastructure or its own place to deploy it? It needs its own place to deploy. So UiPath and Automation Anywhere both run on their, like, they are now cloud-based. So you can take them as a service, and when you configure or build your bot on top of it, it needs a VM where it will run. So it cannot directly run on ServiceNow or any other application. It can interact with ServiceNow or Salesforce or any other application you want to interact it, but it needs its own VM to run on. Yep. All right, so let's get towards the end. We covered this thing. Okay, we already have got a question in this Q&A session without showing this slide. We can have more if anyone has. Sayed, do you want anything in the end? Yeah, so Sayed explained how this jumpstart works here, and let me repeat some of it. So we help our customers experience UI like RPA, and to experience that, you can have a week of complimentary service from us, and we can see what use case you have and how it can be automated. We can work on some aspects of the automation and let you feel the advantage, and that could be helpful for you to convince, if you need to convince anyone within your organization. So that's how you can start without putting anything to invest first. So we are Royal Cyber working on different verticals as well as horizontals, you can say, different technologies, and we are present throughout the globe in different continents. You can see we are partners with major technology providers, including major RPA solution providers. And we can share this. Marketing can send this later. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.